I will say, either people got to buckle up or it's going to just change.
Holy shit. Wow.
I was thinking it sipping on the coffee, and then it came out so harsh.
All the people that were just about to turn it off, they're tuning in now. Oh my God. Yeah, I think it's hilarious about this setup.
What? That I can see the vacuum?
Is, well, there's that. But trying to, like, I don't know, editing the podcast, I'm watching just myself being serious, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta change your life. It's like,
It's that one.
this is unreal. These people. It's like, guys, sit up.
It's that one. Abby sent me a Snapchat. She was watching this on her TV, and it was, I wish you could. I don't know if you could see it in the frame, but it was just you, and it was just like,
yeah, I love it like that.
Dangling her foot. And she just like zoomed in on the foot. She's like, why is Chaney sitting like that? It was you were just like dangling your foot, and then you were just like scratching your leg.
I'm real.
We're talking about like owning a gun for safety, and you're just over here. Yeah, you got to be responsible for your safety.
Yeah, just on protection.
I was like, that is horrendous.
I love it. The freaking sitting contradiction, basically.
I like. Do we have the air on?
Mm-mm.
It's gonna get roasty toasty in here. We just gotta not laugh. I like both. I like the table. Comment what you guys like better. I like the table because I do feel like I'm into it. It's like I kind of feel like I always want to like sit like this when we're in these chairs. Like I really want to get into it. This just feels like I like this because this is also a scenario where we like get into good conversations just on regular days, not what we're recording it. Like we're talking like this in these, chairs, so it feels natural. But I don't feel like I can talk about functions of the brain when I'm like, lady, you are crisscross applesauce right now. Change your development, crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm over here just sleeping. Yeah, I like the setup. I think it's more comfortable. I like the handhelds too. I don't know. They're both good.
It's a mix-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think variety in this is fun. No one cares about this, but I think variety in this is, I don't know. It's like what I said. Like I like when we watch podcasts and they're like in a different location. It just kind of mixes up the visuals and keeps it interesting for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're figuring out what we even want to do or like.
Yeah. Yep.
Both
Humble
are good.
beginnings.
And honestly, most of it just is, for me, is mostly like, how does it look visually? And the lighting and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to light at the table because we have our windows right there. I feel like this is a little bit easier to light to make it look better.
Well, hopefully people stick with us long enough. Hopefully throughout the years you will see the evolution of our setup and how we do things.
Well, go look at
honestly, I feel like we backtracked.
I don't know.
Texas, we literally had a whole room just to podcast.
Yeah, but we didn't do a good job with it.
No, we didn't.
Go look at any podcasts in the beginning. They all look
so
like,
bad. Yeah.
They look like trash.
Okay.
Do you want me to turn the air on before we start?
I think I'll be fine, but if you want to.
I'll be fine.
Okay. It seems like it's been a long time since we've recorded.
Yeah, it kind of has. No, it's only been 1 week.
Right.
It's only been a week.
It's like the last couple episodes. I'm like, I don't know if I wore the exact same thing multiple weeks in a row on the same day that we recorded, or if we did a back-to-back. I don't remember.
Like, this looks good. I'll wear this again.
I just must have been like really feeling that top and situation.
Lex Friedman, Huberman, they wear the same thing every time. You just start doing that.
That's true.
Just wear the
also,
same
I'm going to
outfit.
apologize in advance. I will be blowing my nose. I will be stuffy. It will be gross.
Just put the mic.
It's where I'm at right now. It's where I'm at.
Why do you think you're dealing with it? I have it a little bit too.
I think it's a mix. It doesn't feel so much cold related now today, because especially it's just like when I keep coming back. I think it's the dramatic shift in temperature.
That's what I think it is.
Temperature and also humidity, because the hotels that we've been at have been so dry that I think it's that rapid change to like, and it's also been warmer here and more humid, that I think it's just messing with my sinuses.
Yeah. I think we should start something on here of like just called common sense theory or something like that. Because I feel like I thought about this when we were on the weekend, was there's probably some sort of reason your nose is creating so much mucus and then you're blowing it out constantly. So I don't know. I for some reason I was thinking like, is it so dry? Because we were in Toledo. Like, is it so dry here my nose is trying to create some moisture and then I'm just blowing it out and keeping it dry? Because I think there's a difference between you maybe have some sort of allergy or like trying to get trying to get allergies out of your nose or whatever. So your nose is creating mucus and you're trying to blow it out and get that stuff out so that it's not bothering you anymore. But I don't know, I was thinking about that in Toledo. I'm like, is it trying to create moisture and I just keep blowing every little thing out and keeping it dry so that it just continues to make more and more?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I don't like that theory.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something I was thinking about.
Because then that's just like, so I can't blow my nose. I just have to keep it in there.
Well, maybe it's just like you got to deal with it for a little bit and then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to go like, well, just put like something in your nose to keep it moist. It's like, oh, now we're in a whole other scenario.
Oh, frick. Oh. Thought I didn't have a pen for my notes.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I don't know either.
Who knows? Maybe we'll figure it out eventually. All this traveling, it's also just like... it's like what I told Caleb. Like, I don't know if my immune system is just not catching up with this stuff. Because like Caleb was saying, he's like, I feel like the first year or two, like, he was getting sick. And then he's like, and then I've never really gotten sick. It's like teaching, traveling on the airplanes and the hotel around all these kids and people. Like, wouldn't you think my immune system is like, oh, she's just going to be doing this now. Like, let's figure it out.
I mean, yes and no. You're also like sleep deprived, so you're not recovering. It's like you're putting the stress on the body, but then are you resting enough and recovering enough to allow it to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And I think it's also like you're not you're not sick that much. I mean, it's like like,
I am. I'm just so hyper aware of it.
There's cold, it's the cold season type of thing. Like, typically people will get a cold because of whatever reasons. And you're around how many other people with just going to the airport, flying, being at these conventions with how many different kids who are obviously not hygienic and other people and whatever. And then you come back to
kids
a different
obviously
airport.
not hygienic.
Yeah. I mean,
kids are obviously disgusting.
Unreal. There was one of the teachers that came back and was like, there's one kid that just smelled so bad. It's like the things that you hear at these conventions is hilarious. When you're around that many different people and interacting with people, I'm sure it's like the stories are just abundant of random weird things going on. But yeah, I think it's mostly probably the recovery and that sort of thing. That's where, like, I don't know, I would suggest like researching a good multivitamin or something. I've been taking one now and I feel like that's really helped. I always have sinus stuff, including right now, but since I started taking the multivitamin, I haven't had any sinus issues. To where I'm like super sensitive, it seems like, to that stuff, whether it's like pollen or allergies in the air or whatever, hay season comes around or, grass is getting cut or whatever, or even just like how much dust have we been around probably for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Just with
dust, mold.
Yeah, and like think about those hotels or wherever, like it's cold there, so the windows aren't getting open, so fresh air is not really getting inside, so that's just where
Oh, I mean, we don't
allergies
even
and
see the
dust
outside
collects.
world for 4 days.
Right.
Like, I'm not stepping outside.
Right. And then when you do, it's freezing cold, drying out your nose,
Yeah.
your nasal cavity and everything.
The multivitamin is probably a good idea for me because we just don't have access all the time unless we put in the extra effort, but like to have getting those nutrients.
Well, and you never,
getting
mean, unless you take tests frequently, like you don't know what you're deficient in.
Yeah.
So, talking about why you're maybe not able to recover as fast as you want, it's like, well, maybe there's a nutrient deficiency somewhere that would help. That's my, I don't know, guess or whatever for why I haven't really had the nasal stuff is like, I wonder if I was just deficient in the nutrient and now that's getting like shored up because of taking this multivitamin, and now I don't have like the constant waking up and I gotta blow my nose, and then throughout the day it's like still kind of stuffy, still kind of not, like, I don't know, some days are better than others and whatever, you can't figure it out. It's like pretty consistently my nose has been clear and can breathe through it easy, and I'm not having the issues that I was before.
Yeah.
It seems really in correlation with taking the multivitamin.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just go grab one that's whatever off the shelf.
No, yeah.
It's like you want to look at ones that are supposed to be better, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we should talk more about that off the pod. Because I know I had that one from the Dr. Jolene Brighton that she recommends, especially for women too, women and girls. But I do feel like I remember you saying that one was way more expensive than the one that you have.
Yes.
And yours is even very expensive.
Price is a factor.
Okay, should we jump into it?
You get what you pay for. You
Yeah,
go to
true.
Walmart, you grab the junk off the shelf.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it was only $15. Yeah, you're getting $15 worth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you probably don't know. It says all the shit's in it. Probably not. Like,
so I'd be curious. Maybe I should find a good vitamin deficiency test first. Take that, see where I'm at, because like if it's like you're great besides vitamin D, it's like, well then maybe I just need to crank the vitamin D up or crank whatever the other thing that I'm deficient in. I think a multivitamin is nice, especially the ones that she has, because it's so based off of like female hormones as well. Like hers is like really designed good for that, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
that could be helpful too.
Probably the best way to do it is like get a vitamin deficiency test or mineral deficiency test and see what it says. I think, I don't know. I could go either way. I'm bi. The taking a multivitamin, you're just hitting everything, so you don't have to really worry about it. To where taking the test, you dial in more so what you need. Maybe in the long run it's more cost effective because you're not paying certain prices for the multivitamin, or I don't know. Even though like going and getting a good vitamin D supplement is probably going to be not that less than like a good multivitamin anyways.
Yeah.
But then it's like you have to constantly take those vitamins and mineral tests because you're going to
Could that
start
be adjusting?
you're going to start eating different things, or your body's going to start processing or doing different things that you're going to have to constantly keep up with it. So I don't know. I could see either way of like, if you're really into health and you really want to dial things in and know, yeah, you could continuously take those vitamins and mineral tests. You could probably do one once a year or something like that, and maybe twice a year and do that. But it's like, those are hundreds of dollars, and I don't know. To me, I kind of lean towards the like, I don't want to have to pay that much money to take tests all the time. It's fun to know that information once in a while, but like, I'll just do the multivitamin, try to hit everything, and not really have to worry about it. It's kind of that thing of just like, I'm not willing to do the work and pay the money for all that. So I'm just going to try to just like shotgun blast every vitamin mineral.
Yeah, I don't know which way I lean. I think it depends. I'm so biased towards her products I guess, because it's so like I really in line with what she talks about with the female health stuff and hormones, and like a lot of her stuff she talks about like if you're wanting to get pregnant, like this is the protocol, this, and I'm not, but just saying like specifically
Chill.
she's about what?
So defensive.
Because I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to bring up. Why did I say that? But I think like
I'm not
talking about like,
jeez.
I guess I was trying to bring up the severity of.
You act like somebody's like sitting there like, oh, writing it down. Oh, she said
she's leaving hints. Well, because even
there's the first signal.
Side note, also on a separate thing. Side note on my side note, I was like the Lauren Bostic that I like watching him and her. Side note on the side note. She posted a story of how, I don't know if it was something. Oh, she was talking about like the tongue scraping and getting your teeth cleaned regularly helps with your gut health. And she's like, especially when you're pregnant. And I was like, are you pregnant? Like, why would you say that?
Oh, sure.
It was like so random.
Yeah.
But for me with saying this.
The fact you need to like jump and cover it up. It's like,
okay.
Just wait like 3 months. People are going to figure out, oh no, it wasn't.
But for her, I like her stuff because she gives protocols of like, if you're wanting daily health, this is kind of the package that I would take and get. If you're wanting to have, you know, like, I guess why I brought up the pregnancy thing was,
You're pregnant?
Again, covering up the, like you said, like the shotgun approach sort of thing and the importance of that. She's saying like, even if you're wanting to get pregnant in the next year, you should be starting to take these supplements a year ahead, at least.
Oh,
because
sure.
like the amount of time that it takes for your system to like work these things in, and just like the amount of study that she specifically does for female hormones, I really like, because she's like, most multivitamins are not going to have these things in them because like men don't need them, and like might not benefit from them at all, to where specifically those, it's almost like she has a female scale of a multivitamin.
Yeah, well, and that's where I think like you'll see them too on the shelves of for men or for women.
Yeah.
They're probably somewhat geared towards, for whatever things they're putting in them that are more beneficial or whatever. But
and even her daily multivitamin is different than the multivitamin you should take if you're wanting to get pregnant, because those have different things too.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense of you probably needing more of certain things if you get pregnant, and
Which, just to clarify again, I'm not
so defensive.
I will say, either people gotta buckle up or it's gonna just change.
Holy shit. Wow.
I was thinking it sipping on the coffee, and then it came out so harsh.
All the people that were just about to turn it off, they're tuning in now. Oh my God.
That will no doubt be in the opening clip, so just prepare for that. No
Holy
context
shit.
at all. It's just gonna be sip, I say it.
Mark the time. 18 minutes. Oh my God. I don't know if I want to know what's going to happen now.
And that's what's going to be so frustrating for everybody, is what I'm about to say is so not important at all.
So
not
dramatic.
important at all. It's like, I ramped you to a 9. I'm bringing it back to a 2. No one's going to care about what I'm about to say. But talking about the kids and the pregnancy thing, I'm loving these little mini podcasts lately with they're bringing their kids on it, because just like, God, kids are so cool. But either like, we talk about kids so much now, when we actually have kids, it's either going to be, we are going to crank up the kid talking content, or we are going to never talk about them again. It's be like, this is our life. We don't need to talk about them anymore.
Yeah, I wonder if or when that actually comes. Like,
wow, so doom and gloom. If.
Yeah, it's weird. I just said that. I
Yeah.
guess I don't want kids. That's what that means.
See you later.
See ya.
I'm gonna start packing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's dramatic. It'll probably be exactly the same. We'll talk about it sometimes, and sometimes we won't.
Yeah.
I think there'll probably be an increase of it. I think it's just that new thing happening, you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Just naturally. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that right away there'll be a lot of it, and it'll annoy people, like your dad.
There was I know, my dad hates when people talk about their kids. What about his grandkids? He still probably won't care.
No, he'll probably be fine with it then.
I was watching a clip from one of the podcasts where it's like a CrossFit guy, and he brings his daughter on, and she's 4, I think. And it's just a clip of, he's like, okay, do you want to show everybody your light up shoes? And she goes, finally. And she climbs up on the table and like does a dance with her light up shoes on the table.
It's the only way to get her on it. She said she
She's
could
like,
do it.
finally.
All right.
And a screeching halt.
Well, should we get into our topic for the day?
Let's get into our topic.
I had heard Peter Attia say this on a podcast. He just kind of mentioned something about like lifelong strategies, and that stuck out to me. So I was like, I think that'd be something good to talk about, of just how it seems like we tend to, especially more nowadays, it's not lifelong strategies. It's very short term in the moment. I mean, even that a lot of time is the message, is like be in the moment, which just like everything, things are abused and taken to the extreme to where there's somewhat of a balance, or like a good amount, and I think there's a lot of that be in the moment, do what makes you happy type of attitude nowadays, where there's not really this thought process of the lifelong strategy thing. How is this going to pan out over my lifetime, and what are things that I should do? My opinion of it is we should have that. We should be thinking more about the lifelong strategy thing. And it's probably a little bit of a pendulum swing the other way, because we're so short-term thinking right now and what feels good for me right now, that it seems like a glaring hole in people's lives of you're only so focused on right now all the time, to where I think your life would be more fulfilled and more abundant if you start to create more lifelong strategies in all of the areas: health, financial, relationships, parenting, whatever, name anything, and it can fit into that. And I thought it'd be good to talk about, like, kind of breaking down each of those things too, and just maybe giving examples of like what lifelong strategies would be versus short-term strategies of that.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to break it down within the main like you said, like the main categories of life. Of this is a behavior that I think we practice, whether it's intentionally or not. It's somewhat of in my opinion, the more wholesome, well-rounded approach to the 5-year, 10-year plan. Like, this to me is a little bit more well-rounded versus so goal-orientated. Like, this should just be, how do you set up your lifestyle to be able to thrive in every state of your life, and that it can be for anybody. I think the 5-year, 10-year plan stuff really sticks to one type of culture. That this, I think we kind of want to talk about, just, you could be an everyday, like, this should be an episode for everybody, no matter what stage of life you're in, what career you're in, parent, not parent, whatever your lifestyle is. But just bringing it up in the way of, how does the health look in that way? How does the relationships look in that way? How does money and finances look in that way? And kind of just like breaking down whether what we do or what we have kind of accumulated through a bunch of people, even if we don't do this, where we see it maybe plays out or works, or what we're trying to get better at. Could we start with the health, since I feel like that is I don't know, like, there's so many avenues to the health stuff.
Yeah. I think I don't know, the easiest thing to me to think about is just taking your situation now and say, like, we're talking about the health, but it could apply to any of them, and just kind of going, okay, if I stay on this path, what does it look like all the way down that road for the rest of my life. And hopefully you're being honest with yourself and you're able to go like, okay, this path is a good one, or this path is going to, I can see where this could crash and burn. I could see where this could falter at some point. You know, if you're somebody that's doesn't sleep a lot, like you're just getting 5-6 hours of sleep, where does that lead to? Well, look at any of the research and studies around people who get less than 7-8 hours of sleep. It's disease, and like Alzheimer's and dementia, and just like things just start to fall apart. And they don't maybe look like big obstacles or big things, but typically along that path, you're going to get these little checkpoints of like, hey, this isn't going well. Hey, this isn't going well. Like you have whatever, appendicitis, you have low energy, like you're constantly going to the doctor for things, or you constantly are having these issues. And again, you can put this to any example. Like it could be sleep, it could be your nutrition. Like, okay, I look at my nutrition. If I were to eat this way for the rest of my life, what is that going to tend to go towards? And a lot of times you can just look at the history, because you probably have been doing the same thing for a little while. It's like, well, where were you a year ago, 2 years ago? Is that path getting better, or are you better than you were before, or are you getting worse? And it's just I just kind of see that, like, where was I before? Here am I now. What's the future look like? And going down that path, what am I going to end up running into? Is it good, positive things and things that I want for my life? Or is it going to be like just roadblocks and like life shortening type things?
I think if we can, just for my brain, because that's how I love to categorize things and list it out. I think if we could start with each topic of kind of the negatives of why, if you don't do this, what can happen, sort of thing. And I think you just did a good job with that, with the health stuff. I think for health, how I broke it down on my list is like fitness, food, mental health, brain health. And to me, mental health and brain health are two different things. That how can we go down each of those categories of the negative to it, the benefit, and then maybe how would we physically implement that, or what do we do to stay on track with that? I think you brought up a great point of, it's like we see older people, our grandparents, our parents, and they're complaining about, well, I can't do this anymore because, of my age, or I can't run like I used to. I can't go outside and play basketball. I can't, so specific, but never heard that before. Go outside and play with my grandkids or whatever. Or I can't get up off the chair as easy, or, I'm going to the doctors all the time with these random things that are popping off. Or even you hear like, I wish I would have taken care of this better. I wish I would have taken care of, my skin, my teeth, my hair, my physical well-being, my ability to, keep up with a lot of this stuff. I think that's why this conversation can be beneficial, and why I think it's for everybody, is because a lot of times we realize this when it's too late for all of this stuff. We realize it when it's too late, and you might not be able to always get back on track. Which I think that's the benefit of how can I do this right now, but then what does the long-term effects look of this, and then almost work backwards of like, well, when I'm 80, I want to be able to go on my 2-hour walks. I want to be able to, still be able to lift weights. I want to be able to have freedom with my food, and I want to be able to do all this. Okay, well, if I want to do that at 80, what do I need to do at 26 to start developing those tools and those behaviors? So let's just say like with fitness, for me, and this I know is not for everyone, I think fitness is so fun. I like the exploration of it. I like that there are so many different types and modalities that you can mess around with. I see it as like a playtime that it's like, okay, so for me, the ability to keep that excitement alive is important to me. The ability to want to keep learning about it is important to me. So finding more ways to just implement it in my daily routine has helped over the years, so that it's not a to-do, or it's not something that I need to do to look a certain way and feel a certain way. It just becomes as basic as brushing my teeth and showering every day. Having something physically engaging is just as baseline as that for me. So it's like, if I've made that such a part of my life, it's not difficult to maintain that. No matter how busy life gets, it's really not that hard to do something along those lines, because it's now like a need for me.
Well, and I think you start to build that trust in yourself that you're going to do it, even if there's a day where you're not able to get to it because of whatever reasons. You've proven so many times that you will do it and you will get to it. And I think that's probably one of the bigger goals, to bigger attributes or bigger skills to have a life that's active, is you have that trust in yourself that you're going to do it. And I think that's what people struggle with when they aren't as active as they want to be, or they have goals and they're not able to get to them, as they have this lack of belief that they can do it, because they continue to try and fail, to where, you know, we've had conversations about it too, where it's like, I don't really worry that much about eating bad food or missing workouts or days where we're maybe not getting that much activity, because it's so a part of this lifelong strategy or this lifelong plan that I'm so bought into it, and I trust that I'm going to do it, that it's fine if I miss a day. I know I'm going to get back on track, and I know I'm going to go back to it. So I don't really stress about it. So I think when it comes to like the fitness side and the exercise portion of it, the negatives of that is just like, you're unhealthy, you're weak. That's something that continues to come out more and more, is just how important it is to maintain muscle as you get older, for so many reasons. And one of them just being, if you fall and break something over an age of like 65 or 70, you have a significant increase of dying in the next like 5 years. And that's just like, muscle is a ginormous part of that, because the more muscle you have on your body, the less likely you are to fall. And
right.
Then you can talk about bone density as well. And what's another thing that helps bone density is lifting weights. So it's like putting those practices in now to be able to prevent the losing muscle and losing bone density as you get older.
I mean,
that's
even
naturally
losing
going to happen.
Proprioception. It's like, how many of my elderly clients that I was students I was working with, that's like, they don't even feel comfortable walking up the stairs to my class that's on the second floor. Because like, their ability to, their body seeing the stepping up, like, that is too much of a risk for them.
And then you start to like, now look at that. That's affecting quality of life. Now they have to avoid things because they don't have the muscle, because they don't have the proprioception. They don't trust themselves, and they're worried about falling or tripping or whatever. So when you start to see down that path and where it can lead, it's not just, oh yeah, I'm going to be me at 26 years old with the body that I have. I'll just be 80 now. It's like, no, you're going to be that plus 40 years, 50 years of you not building, like, you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. If you're not training to build muscle or maintain muscle, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose bone density. It's just...
And it's also crazy how fast that happens.
It's crazy,
like,
and it's
women
not.
start losing bone density after 30. Most people, I think, would think 30. It's like, that's not that old. But like, your bones are starting to decay at 30 years old. I mean, even just in general, like, every day we're decaying.
Like, unless you're doing something about it. Unless you're
like,
trying to prolong those things.
I think this is an easy way to approach it, especially when it comes to the health stuff, because it's so visible. We see an older person. You can physically see.
We get old.
We deteriorate. Like, that is a part of life. So you're trying to overpower your natural genetics as much as you can. It's like, okay, well, what do you hear your grandparents talking about? What do you hear your parents talking about? What do you hear people older than you, even if it's a few years, talk about? It's like, okay, they're complaining about this or talking about this or seeing where their life is limited. What do I need to do now to kind of work on that? So it's like, okay, I know that the bone density starts to decrease. So, okay, maybe I need to start implementing that into my workouts, even if it is just resistance training, so that I'm building that muscle. Okay, well, I see that people are, their heart is maybe not as strong as they're getting older. Okay, well, maybe I need to implement more cardiovascular training and more stuff like that that's going to kind of counteract that a little bit. It's harder because you have to put in it's probably the one that you have to put in the most work for. But I mean, I think we've all seen those 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds were like, how are they 80 years old and how are they doing that? Like, because they were putting in the work 60 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be the theme with everything we talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how did they do that? How did they get to here? And it's like, because they made the sacrifices. They did the work. And I think if you're somebody that's starting off at 0, I work out 0. When we say, like, you really only have to go resistance train twice a week and then maybe do like 1 cardiovascular exercise a week, that sounds insane and hard to imagine that you can make your life that when you're starting at 0. And that's like, go listen to any of the previous podcasts of us talking about, like, start with 1 and don't start with an hour session. Like, start with a 20-minute or 30-minute, or start at home. Like, just start doing squats or push-ups or whatever. Like, start wherever you need to start and start with what you enjoy. And then as you gain more trust in yourself, you gain more ability to go do this stuff more, you can start to add on. And then you can get to that point where you're going to the weightlift twice a week and you're doing 1 cardiovascular session a week. And I think that's like, that's going to be sufficient. Like, that's going to be good, is if you're doing that much. You can do more and it's going to be even more beneficial. But when you're talking about like quality of life and being able to do some of the things that you want to do when you're older, the earlier you start the exercise portion, the earlier you start any of this is going to be in your favor. But I think the main things that we see a lot of the time is the health deteriorates. And especially for the generations before us, like, I think exercise wasn't really something that was thought about because they were maybe outside more than we were. They were doing jobs that were maybe more manual labor, and they were kind of getting this weird type of exercise anyways. But nowadays, where everybody's sitting at home or sitting in an office, or, we're really sedentary, it's even more important now to go do exercise, because it's not just so in our lifestyle. To where, it's like, you even look at the people that are getting up to those ages, or our older generations, like, you see that health becomes a huge obstacle. It's now they can't do certain things because, like, they're not strong enough. They don't have the proprioception. They can't, they don't know where they're putting their feet. They don't know. They can't lift things. They can't move, and they can't walk, and they can't do that sort of stuff. And they're at the doctor maybe a lot, and they've got this sort of thing going on, so they can't do the health thing just starts to become more and more and more and more. And you can, like, push that stuff off by focusing on health.
Well, and I have 3 points to that. It's easier for us to talk about this because it was an interest, like, from the jump, but not all the things that we have implemented. Like, all the things that we do on a daily basis, it had to be through practice. Like I talked about today on the walk. How many years ago I would have had to drag him on a walk because you just didn't like it. You thought it was pointless, and it's just like, I'll do it just to make me happy every once in a while. Now, every single morning that we're home, we go on a beach walk we counted 40 minutes. I thought it was an hour, but 40 minutes. And then later in the afternoon, we go on another walk for like an hour and 15. And that is no stress. In my opinion, it's my favorite parts of the day now. But it's like, we're getting outside, we're walking. That's 2 hours of uninterrupted talking between us as well. Like, there are so many stacked benefits that we get from doing that, and that we had to work on. We had to like start implementing into the system and into the schedule of the day. And now we have found ways, like, it's not taking away from the productivity of everything else. We're still
probably making it better.
It's probably making it better. Like, we went on a walk and now we're like jumping into a podcast, and I feel like it's, yeah, okay, well, our day is rolling. That we had to work into the system, and now we like it. This to me is the only thing, or not the only thing, but this is out of the other things that we're going to talk about where it won't just get better. Like, you talk about relationships, like there's a chance that you could stay the same your whole life or get better at relationships. Money, there's a chance that you could just coast or it could get better. Your health is fighting you.
Yeah,
your health in your body
battle.
is fighting you. Everything else, like, you can kind of do it and you might be fine. You don't do anything with this, you will not be fine. Like, you will get worse. And I think the way that I would maybe think about it, just because I can relate to this, like you talked about the diminishing parts of your lifestyle. If anybody, I'm sure everybody can relate to this in some way. Think about a time that you were injured or you were sick, or like I think about me with a broken foot. It's like, you don't realize how much it messes with your life until it's like, oh, I didn't realize, or like you get a pulled muscle. It's like, I didn't realize how much I use my hamstring until it's sore or I can't use it or whatever.
Yeah, you jam your thumb or something like that.
Yeah, it's like,
and then for like a week, you're like, I didn't realize how much I needed my thumb for fucking everything.
Yes. Now imagine that is your every single day, your whole body, and it just keeps getting worse. And it's like, okay, you have these injuries that are diminishing your life's your quality of life. At that age and at that point, that's not going to be when you're going to want to kick it into gear and start implementing these other things. Like, set yourself up now when you maybe are younger or you feel good, or even you're just like, I'm motivated from this episode to go for it and do it. Do it before it's like you have so many things against you. But like, you can, I think everybody, like I said, everybody can relate to that time when you're injured or sick or something, and how much it affects the day-to-day silly little tasks. Avoid that being your everyday life, because that's kind of what it gets to when you get older. And it's like the simple things, like walking by yourself, going to the bathroom by yourself, being able to brush your own hair, brush your own teeth, like all those silly things that we can take for granted become aggressively more difficult. So it's like, push that farther down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you see more so nowadays, like that's happening at 40, 50, 60, to where you can push that to much, much later. Mm-hmm. And it's just but it's by taking care of your health and it's easier barrier to entry when you do it earlier rather than later. If you are trying to fix when you already have some issues, or trying to change when you already have some issues, I mean, it's never too late, but it's easier to do it early on when there is no issues. Like, you're now in the game of prevention rather than the game of reaction. Like, oh, now my knee's screwed up and I can't do all this stuff and I have to work around it, to where if you would have started doing stuff 5 years ago, like, you wouldn't have had this knee issue or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think when you have a certain level of fitness, it really does open up a lot of things in life.
Oh, totally. I mean, we've talked about that, of just like going on vacations or going in certain areas where we'll look at something or look at a place and it's like, oh, it's only a mile away. We can just walk there. It's like, some people, a mile walk is that they're like, there's no freaking way I would do that. To where like a mile walk, that's going to be like 20 minutes. Right. Like, who cares? We'll go walk that.
Well, even our full day.
And then we see it as like, oh, look, we get to add exercise in. Yep. So you can see it as just a benefit. Yeah.
Oh, you say the full day of us walking around in Key West with my dad. It's like, he's 50 plus. And it's like, that was no problem for any of us. How many people would not have been able to do that trip? Because like, you're taking a boat there. You're not like, you don't have a vehicle. You're probably not going to pay to get around a car for a 8-hour day or whatever.
And they probably just wouldn't have walked around much.
You wouldn't have been able to experience this thing. It's like, we are physically fit enough that we got to enjoy and experience. Yeah. That's sad to me if you can't. Because you're limiting so many cool things in life because like, you just don't have the ability to.
Right. And you don't even have like the want, and we talked about that this morning too, of like, you start to tell yourself you don't care about it anyways.
Yeah.
Towards like, I don't know, you probably would, if you were able to do it,
Yeah.
you would be like, wow, that's cool. I'm glad I can do this, and I'm glad I'm able to walk this far, be able to do this and experience this. You know, even just like the beach walk that we do. It's like, we've been able to structure our day or our life and jobs or whatever to be able to get up at 6 a.m. and get to the beach by 7 and go for a 40-minute walk. And it's like, not only we're able to do that because of schedule, but we can actually do a 40-minute walk on the beach.
And how many people would not be able to do that because they'd get too out of breath? It's hard to, like, they think it's too hard to walk in the sand. They're too nervous to walk in the sand because they're afraid that they're going to fall because they don't have the stability. It's like, so think of that. Everybody, most people I would say, has probably been on a beach.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you enjoy a walk on the beach? And your physical capability is not allowing you to do that comfortably.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And it's like what we've said, it's enjoyable every day. You're walking on the beach, you're walking in the sand, the ocean, the sound of the ocean. Like, it's in the morning, so it's generally quiet and calm, and it's like you're outside. There's a lot of things going for it.
Okay, I say we start cruising. For food, I would say the only thing that I really have to say about this is
the food really pairs with the fitness stuff.
It does. Like, just don't be an asshole about it. Like, don't eat like an asshole.
Well, and I think, again, it's the same sort of systems and stuff that we're talking about with the fitness stuff. It's like you're putting good nutrients in your body that your body needs, and you're doing that consistently. You're going to stave off everything. Disease, sickness, even just like performance is going to be better. You're going to have more energy and be more willing to go on beach walks and go do exercise and stuff. I think that's where people struggle is the exercise and the food. Like, if you want to really change your health, you kind of have to do those two things together, and really sleep too. But you have to kind of do those things together, because if you're just exercising and you're not doing the food portion, you're just making going and exercising harder, because you're not going to have the energy. If you're still eating like shit, you're not going to have the energy to want to go to the gym and go be at the gym. And then when you're actually at the gym, if you've gotten yourself there, your performance isn't going to be great, because you're not fueling your body with the proper nutrients and vitamins, minerals, everything that you need to perform at a high level. Like, now you come back home or the next day or whatever, and you're super sore, and it's like, well, yeah, you're not feeding your body what it needs, and then you're not sleeping great. Then it's just a cycle. It's like you're only trying to hit one of the heads of the three-headed dragon. It's like you kind of have to go after all three at the same time if you want to get a lot of headway on it, I think. And that's where the food part is. There's so much just nonsense bullshit out there. Like, this is my buckle up moment, because I'm feeling myself just getting so pissed about it.
You gotta take a sip of coffee before I say that.
It's just eat shit that comes from the ground and is natural. Stop eating stuff that's out of a box, out of a package, made in a factory, made in a lab. Like, I don't care that it says it's just apples, bananas, and dates or whatever. That shit was made in a factory. Okay?
Okay.
Just eat the damn apple on its own. Eat the banana on its own. Eat the dates on its own. Like, eat whole natural foods and stop getting shit out of packages.
Yeah.
There's your there's your food advice for the, how many
no
have we
matter
done?
What age you are.
37 episodes. For the 37th time. Like, just eat whole natural foods. That's all you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
There's your food. The fitness thing, I honestly think is probably harder than the food thing. The food thing, there's more emotion attached to it. So I understand why it's difficult. But this fact of like, or this whole scene of I don't know what to eat, and is it low carb or high fat? Is it
Like most of you guys are not at that point anyways.
It's
and not putting blame on just like you're not doing it, but like most average Americans, no, like you're not to the nitty gritty of that yet. You're talking about a diet and a specific like way of eating. No,
just like we talk about with working out, the basics of working out. It's like just do like some bodyweight squats and maybe some push-ups if you can do that, or like an elevated push-up so it makes it easier, and go for walks. Like these people are going like relate like using food, what people do with like, should I be keto or should I be carnivore? Should I do this? That's the equivalent of going to exercise and being like, should I do box jumps? Should I do CrossFit? Should I like be a marathon runner? It's like, you can't even walk for 10 minutes and you're talking about running marathons. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And even the keto and the this and the that, like, it's not that one is necessarily more beneficial than the other. Like each thing gives you certain benefits, and it also makes certain sacrifices. And there's tons of studies, and the overwhelming evidence is it doesn't matter what diet you do to lose weight. It's just about resisting the calories.
Yep.
Reducing calories. It's like it doesn't matter if you're keto. It doesn't matter if you're eating all the carbohydrates in the world. It doesn't matter if you're carnivore. Like the food part really does not matter. And that's why I always go just eat a well-balanced diet. Whole natural foods. Eat whatever you want of that stuff. Try to get full on apples. Like you're going to stop.
Yeah.
After 1.5, you're probably going to be done eating apples for the day. Like I wouldn't be so worried about I don't know, the sugar in fruits, or like the carbohydrates in certain vegetables, or how, you know, this is high fat over here. It's like meat. It's a high cuts of high fat meat cuts. It's like really try to overeat that stuff. You're going to have a freaking hard time doing that. That's why all these people on the carnivore diet, it's like they can't overeat.
Right.
Because it's meat.
Yeah.
They can't do it. And I bet the same thing would happen with the all fruit diet. You're not going to overeat it. All vegetable diet. You're not going to overeat it. Like, stop. Everybody's complicating it way too much. It's just eat whole natural foods. Done. End of discussion.
Well, and the fitness and the food, I'm really sorry for all this sniffling. The fitness and the food correlate to me with the brain health and the mental health as well. Like, and I would love to do a further episode on this of like the more that I'm learning about like the ADHD and the focus with kids and the food relating to that and the activities. Like your brain is the focal center of everything, but it's still a muscle. It's still something that you need to activate and work on and feed properly. Like whatever you're eating is affecting your brain. Because like it's affecting the deterioration of it. It's affecting your memory, your fogginess, your ability to hopefully not get certain diseases as you're getting older. And same thing with your mental health. Like if your brain is sick, you think you're going to be in good conditions to take on life? No. It's like, and where do you work on that? Your fitness and your food. We can all meditate till the day we die, but if you're going to go after meditate and eat like shit and not get any activity, your brain's going to go, cool, you gave me a sliver of the thing. It's still a sliver, great. But like, that's not going to be the whole solution. You can't just think your way into health because your body is so awesome and it is so complex that it's not just a one tool fix.
Yeah, no. Well,
it's
and
like,
that's, I think what we've realized over the years too, is just like, because we're interested in it, it makes it easier, but all of the avenues that we get ourselves into when it comes to health, whether it's the food, exercise, mental health, sleep, any of the stuff, like we realize how connected all of it is, and how one thing does affect the other, and just like how you have to somewhat pay attention to all of them.
Well, even this small little, piece of the ADHD thing with kids, like the more unhealthy that they eat and not whole natural foods that they eat, it is dampening the part in their brain that produces adrenaline and that produces the feel good hormones. So it's like, okay, so that's also limiting their ability to get excited about very basic things. So it's like all these kids that are like overwhelmed with all these other fun activities and they need to watch TV all the time. It's not just, okay, the TV is more interesting than coloring. It's their brain is actually being trained, and only the ability to, that's the level that I need to have, because you're squishing the part of their brain that thinks coloring is fun.
It's
like,
the stimulus thing.
Yeah.
It's like they need extremely high stimulus in order to have any sort of like hormetic reaction.
Right.
And it's partially because of the food that they're eating.
Yeah.
You're feeding them stuff that doesn't allow that stuff to happen, and now they don't get any dopamine unless they're watching something on TV or unless they're playing with toys that are super stimulating, to where sitting down and coloring is just too boring. And it's like there's a practice in that of actually doing it, but then there's also the way that you're feeling your body. It's the same example of you're trying to go to the gym, but then you're feeling your body with crap. Of course you're going to have no motivation. You just ate 6 donuts and now you're trying to go to the gym. Like, yeah, you're not gonna, nobody's going to want to go to the gym after that.
And it's the example with the kids of, you know, maybe they're having behavior issues, they're having focus issues, and now we're going, well, they have ADHD. It's like, no, it's the same thing with adults. No, you're feeding them shit. You don't have ADHD either, most likely. It's you're feeding your brain trash. You're not giving the activity to be able to produce the type of chemicals that it needs to. So, and you're also, then let's go into the brain health and mental health. Are you challenging your brain with productive activity? Are you practicing how to focus? We don't teach kids how to focus, and then we also are not maintaining that level of what we can. It's like, there's not just, oh, well, we, you know, life is moving a little bit faster pace, so we can't focus for more than 20 seconds on anything now. It's like, no, we are developing that, and we are fueling our brain to only function in that way. It's like, are you on your phone more than you're reading in a day? Are you on your computer doing stuff? Are you watching TV? Are you tricking your brain into going, this is the only level of stimulus that I can have? That ante will keep going higher and higher, and your ability to focus and maximize your brain is going to go down. Like, the level, I should look up the study again, but it was like the percentage and the age that are in America, what we're seeing, like dementia, Alzheimer's, strokes happening, the age is like 40 years lower than what it was, 20, 30 years ago. It's like, that's not random. It's like, because we are killing our brain through the lack of activity, through the lack of good food, and the hyper intensity of everything else that we're putting around us. It's like, we're literally seeing the studies of our brains are getting sicker. Do you think that's a correlation to why we all think we're depressed and why we all have anxiety and we all think we have ADHD? Yeah, it is.
Well, and that's where it's so funny that people are just like, yeah, that's just our world now. That's just what it is. It's like,
we're just talking about it more.
Yeah, and
people are
there's
comfortable enough to say this now.
There's some truth to, we are just talking about it more, but there's also, I don't know, to me it's like, again, going to the workout example, it's like if you were only to train fast twitch muscle, like you were only doing box jumps and sprints and like heavy lifting everywhere, and then you're going like, yeah, can't run marathons, you can't do that anymore, like we're just not in that era anymore. It's like, no, you're training to not be able to do that. Talking about the focusing, you're training to not have focus. It's everything's quick and high stimulus, and can we catch you, can we do this, can we do that? Like, there's no training of, let's just sit and do work for an hour, or sit and meditate for even 20 minutes or 10 minutes or like 10 minutes is a long time to people now to just sit there.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to train and you have to practice just like anything else. And I think because it's so natural to grab your phone and have something that's distracting you, or whatever your version of distraction is, we've all adapted to do that, and we have short attention spans now, and it has to be quick. But if you're just that's like the unintended training that has gotten to us to that point, to where if you do the opposite, you're going to be able to do all these things. You're going to be able to sit and focus for a while. Like I do that as much as I can, where I'm just like, I'm in this environment, like on these conventions, I could easily sit here, pull up my phone and do whatever. I'm literally just going to sit here and just like watch and listen, kind of like a people watch type thing. And it's like, I'm just trying to practice, just sit here. Just be able to sit here and not have anything happening and going on.
Yep.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's easy because there's actually something interesting going on. And I think there's also something cool about like being able to, whether it's watching people or watching things happening where you're like, like it starts to make your brain think about different things. And you start seeing other things, to where if I was just buried in my phone, sure, I'm going to maybe get stuff from that too. But there's also a certain amount of separation from real life that's happening there.
Yeah.
To where you look up and you're actually looking around you and sitting there for 10 minutes and seeing what's going on. It's like, how many people just sit and like watch your kids play? Just like how much you could probably learn about your kids.
Oh my gosh.
Just by sitting and watching them play. And just like also they know and understand that like you're being aware of them and like somewhat connected with them and stuff. It's like, there's something happening there, and the more that you do it, I bet the better relationship you have with them, and the better relationship like you have with yourself, because you're giving your kids the attention that all parents talk about that they wish they could do or wish they could do more of. It's like, well, when there's time, don't sit on your phone.
Yeah.
Like be there with your kids. You don't have to sit there and play with them, but just like start practicing. I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes and just like watch them and see what they do.
Yep.
Figure out what kind of person they are right now. Because people do that too, of like, I don't know, my kid's doing this or why they're doing that or why it's like, we don't ever fucking pay attention to them. You're on your phone or you're watching TV. You got to have something on, some distraction. It's like, sit and watch them.
And it's a silly example, but I feel like that's why when, teaching, it's like why I get a lot of like, well, your kid responds this way when they're feeling this. Oh, they don't want to wear their ballet shoes. They don't want to wear their ballet shoes because if you watch them for 2 seconds, like their feet are too slippery and that scares them. And then when they get scared, they overreact because they're uncomfortable. It's like, I figured that out in 2 minutes of them being in the room with me. And they're like, I don't know how you're picking up on this stuff. It's my job to analyze your child and every child in here that I'm so hyper focused on their behavior. It's like, I can pick up on those things very fast. Your kid's manipulative. Your kid lies to get what they want. Your kid chooses anger when they're feeling uncomfortable. Your kid cries and wants to run out of the room because you're your coping. Like, you can figure all that out. It's just observing them.
Well, and it's because it would be inappropriate if you as the teacher were on your phone the whole time. If the parents saw that and came in, but we don't put that same sort of responsibility on parents. Yeah. It's like, when you're sitting out there with your other kid who doesn't have a class at this time and you're just on your phone the whole time, we don't come up to you and you're like, hey, could you get off your phone and pay attention to your kid? But parents would do that if the teacher was doing that. Yeah. Hey, could you pay attention to our kids and teach them more? It's like, hey, could you parent your kid more? Like, you're just sitting on your phone doing nothing.
I wish I could say that.
Oh my God, to have the balls to do that would be amazing.
Well, and all this also, again, it's like everything relates to everything, blah, blah, blah. But, the obesity rate going up, I just heard this, or someone was talking about like the cortisol and stuff, and why also people that maybe choose everybody. If you've been watching this for forever, I'm not as against cardio now as I used to be. I used to be a hella hater on cardio. I think I still have my points of why, because I think people are misusing it. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But
blah, blah, blah.
It's also like...
You're even saying blah, blah, blah nicely. Blah, blah, blah.
Cortisol is also what is triggering, like, keeping fat and keeping the weight on.
It's a stress.
It's a stress. So you going on, you only doing these cardio workouts and you going to these classes, like, that is the same as what your brain is doing when you're sitting on your phone. So it's like, okay, you love doing these cycling classes or whatever. It's like, well, are you gaining weight or are you keeping the weight on? It's not because the actual activity is bad. It's because you're actually putting a stress on your body. And we are developing ourselves and our brain and our bodies to not handle stress well, because we have such small doses of it all the time that our body's like, we can't do this. Cortisol spikes, cortisol spikes, cortisol spikes.
Right.
That's what's keeping us overweight.
It's appropriate when you're exercising.
Right. And but now we don't have the ability to use that properly.
And you want that response. But then, like you're saying, when you're having that happen a million times a day, not like it's supposed to be happening in your workouts and then very few times the rest of the day. It's not supposed to be happening all the time during the day. But like you said, when you're on your phone or this is happening or whatever's going on, it's constantly doing that. It's like, why does everybody have, thyroid issues or hormonal issues? It's like some of these things are so overactive. It's just like muscles. Some are so overactive and some are so underactive. You have this uneven balance, and that's where all of these issues come from. So when things are not balanced out properly, and it's because you're constantly stressing something out and you're never stressing another thing out.
And that's why the cardio stuff doesn't necessarily work in the way that it's supposed to all the time with losing weight, because you're now just getting that mainlined all the time. It's not, okay, well, when you're in your workout, this is when it's spiking. It's an appropriate level. You're using it with the balance of the heart health. It's, well, you just did that 20 minutes being on your phone, and now you're going and taking that cycling class. So it's going, your nervous system is like, no, this is too much. You're obviously in a threat most of your day. So we don't know if you're running to lose weight or if you're running because you're in danger.
Well, and it's referencing the podcast we had a couple times ago of like, the idea then is to reduce the stress. It's not the cardio's fault. It's that you're too stressed throughout the rest of the day. So you have to figure that out and manage that. I think what we should do is this be a part 1. Yeah. And then the next one be a part 2, and we can talk about the other things like the financial and maybe getting more into the mental and the brain stuff. Okay. And the relationship stuff. I mean, we kind of touched a lot of those, but I think going deeper into them. Yeah. I think the only thing with the brain health, the only thing I need to say about that, because then we can just wrap up the whole health portion, is just doing activities that keep your brain strong. Like whether it's reading more or picking up a hobby or doing things that are you have to somewhat developing a skill. Yeah. It's just like anything. There has to be a appropriate amount of stress so that your body can recover and react to that and whatever, build certain systems to be able to handle those things better. You don't want to overstress it, but you also never want to work that out. Yeah. Well, I guess tune in for part 2 if you want to learn about relationships and money. All right. See you later.